What is going on, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo, and I am super excited to be bringing you exclusive impressions of Mafia 3. I was one of the only YouTubers that got to fly out to San Francisco last week and play over 2 hours of the game. I learned tons about how Mafia 3 works and how it plays, and now I am here to share all of those glorious details with you guys and girls. Before we get started, I want to point out two quick things. One, this video is not sponsored in any way. I'm free to say whatever the heck I want about the game. And two, the footage that you're watching right now is from that overarching 2+ hour demo. It highlights probably the best mission that I played and shows you some of the cutscenes, some of the driving, some of the shooting, some of the mission structure, and hopefully will give you a really good idea while I'm talking about what the game is like, give you a visual aid and visual reference to really understand how this game takes shape. Mafia 3 super impressed me, and that starts with the hands-on experience. I think they've very much nailed the controls here. Lincoln is a very fun character to play as, both from his personality and the way that he handles. The gunplay was the shining star. I was super impressed with how fluid and natural that felt. I quickly grasped the system, and I was just knocking off headshot after headshot within a few moments. And whether it was a sniper rifle, a handgun, or a shotgun, it all felt really good. Even the projectiles, the grenades felt good too. And Lincoln, as a whole, whether he was taking cover or running through the world, it just had a very nice feel to it. The animations were crisp, and I liked the way it played, much more so than most open-world third-person games. The driving is different based on the cars that you're in, and I think people will really like sort of the setting and more of the, quote, old-time vehicles and how they all have a little bit of a different style to them. But for me, the highlight was, again, the gunplay and combat, and you're going to get to see some of that soon. All of the missions are approachable in a variety of ways. You can come in guns blazing, you can go in stealthily, you can approach from this way, that way, above, ground level, however you see fit. And I really like that. I'm much more of a stealth player. I like to feel like I've got this upper hand and take guys out from the shadows, and this game allows you to do just that. Now, there were definitely moments where I had to open fire because the odds became stacked definitely too heavily in the opposition's favor, but I liked being able to come in quiet most of the time. And I was able to do that with a silenced pistol that was my go-to weapon. It was it was a great pistol. You know, some people in recent releases have complained that the shooting requires a little bit of, tweaking to, how fast the reticle moves, or they don't feel like the guns are, sounding or playing right. Here I felt like the gunplay was possibly the strongest thing that Mafia 3 had to offer. You'll see right there a weapon wheel as well as a perk wheel that calls in special advantages from your underbosses, and this is a huge part of the game that I'm going to want to talk about multiple times throughout this video, because as Lincoln, you have 3 underbosses who you've seen in past trailers and whatnot, and they factor heavily into not only the storyline, but also the gameplay. Your interactions with them will affect the story, will affect your relationships, and can in turn affect the gameplay, because these characters are responsible for providing you with new weapons, new passive skills, and new active perks that we saw there on the weapon wheel. Things like a mobile store, things like calling in a hit squad, things like cutting the phone lines for a certain amount of time, things like bribing the police for a certain amount of time. A lot of really cool... skill is kind of a weird word, but they're more like perks. Because it's not directly modifying Lincoln, but it's modifying what he can do and how he can approach situations. I walked through this exact little trailer this exact way, stealthed that first guy, and then went ham on these dudes, and you'll get to see that in a second. What I found interesting as well is how the game is structured. There's a bunch of different districts in the game, and you will approach them however you see fit. Obviously, there is an overarching plot structure. One of the strengths of Mafia as a series is its linearity in storytelling, and therefore its emphasis on plot and production value and really getting you from A to Z in this character's tale. But you will be able to tackle multiple districts at a time and approach them in not only a variety of ways within each mission, but a variety of orders from those missions. It's even possible to be dealing with 2 districts at once. So if you're getting bored with one or want to move to a different area, that is fine. You can have 2 kind of balanced at the same time. The district that I played had 2 different rackets. One was already completed for me, and that culminated in a bathhouse takeover. You're looking to build up different headquarters. You're looking to take over the districts, and then you will assign those hideouts, those headquarters, and the districts to one of your 3 underbosses. And based on how much and how often you assign those to them, they will reward you or they may hate you. So you'll get new guns, like I mentioned, and new either perks or new levels of those perks, or they will become pissed off with you, and that will change the dynamics of the story. Now, I wasn't able to suss out exactly where that would end up by the end of the game, but they sounded like they're leaning towards possibly places where maybe one of the bosses either betrays you or disavows you or decides that they are no longer going to be on your side, which I think could be super interesting. There's going to be many different endings, a lot of permutations based on how you interact with those underbosses. But back to the mission structure and sort of the game design, these districts house these different rackets, and the one that I focused on was a construction racket. And my goal was to cause enough damage to said racket so that I could draw out the leader of the racket, which would then get me closer and closer to the Italian mob boss who I'm trying to eventually take down as Lincoln. This is a big battle between the black mob, who Lincoln joins after returning from the Vietnam War, and the Italian mob, who are very, very feisty, as this gameplay in this demo showed me. So I would do things to the construction racket, simple stuff, side mission type stuff, like blow up construction vehicles that would then obviously cause them harm and deal damage to their enterprise and sort of take away money from what they're trying to work. But then there were more specific missions that involved taking down specific targets, going in and destroying specific things, and that culminated in this mission right here, which is a hotel mission where you're going to take out the leader of the racket. I like the flexibility of being able to attack and destroy this racket in a multitude of ways. There were a bunch of little of the side objectives. There were a couple more of the major ones that did most of the money. Love how the receptionist there runs away in fear because she sees you coming and she knows you're not bringing flowers. Bring in exactly the opposite. Well, eventually, she'll be bringing flowers for the guys working in the office, but that will be after we deal with all of them. And there are a ton of the little side activities that dealt damage and earned you money and took money away from the racket. And I did some of those and kind of mixed in what I wanted, where I was on the map, and how I wanted to approach, what kind of gameplay I was interested in. And what has me excited is the fact that hopefully these different rackets involve different mechanics and different side activities, and they said that they would. They were very clear that different rackets and different districts will feel different, and so that's why I'm excited by the promise of playing multiple districts at once, kind of doing 2 different things, so it never feels stale. It doesn't feel like you're running through all of the construction activities and then all of these activities and all of the drug activities and all of blah, blah, blah. You can kind of mix it up, which I think is cool, and maybe that allows you also to balance the underbosses a little better and know what you're assigning where and not go too gung-ho in one of those 3 directions. I like that there's 3 underbosses, so it's not an either-or. It's always an either-or, which I think makes for more dynamic decisions. Finishers and melee was really fun. There are these brutal executions, and they said that I was the only person that played the demo that was able to execute these, and hopefully you guys are proud of me. I was pretty proud of myself, playing with a bunch of different journalists and a bunch of very well-known people. And I was the only person able to pull off these brutal finishers, which were super cool. They required you to stun the target via melee and then hold the A button for the exact right amount to execute this brutal finisher. And since it was tricky, it felt very satisfying once you got it done. So obviously you have the open world flexibility of the missions, but that hotel mission that you saw and that you'll see more of really highlighted more of the linear design. One, it involved cutscenes. And one of the cool things about the cutscenes is that they are telling a lot of the story through, of course, these gorgeous cutscenes you're seeing here as part of the trailer. The facial animations and the faces themselves look really good. I think that's something that has to be nailed on next gen, and Mafia 3 gets it right. But the story will also be told through sort of a documentary style court case. So there was these documentary-style videos that show one of the characters in court kind of retelling what happened with Lincoln, and I thought that was a cool feel and gave the game a cool flair. You know, it really is trying to recreate this New Orleans vibe in a very volatile time in our country's history, and I think that those cutscenes that were in that documentary, black and white style, really added to that vibe. So that hotel mission had two major ways that it could be attacked. Basically, what you were doing was stealing the car from the character you saw in the opening cutscene of this video, and then driving it to the hotel to get in and then go after the leader of the racket. Now, you could approach it guns blazing through the lobby, which would have given you a humongous set-piece battle through said lobby, and then you would have had no chance to really stealth because they would have known you were coming. You would have gone up the elevator to the upper offices and been in big trouble. Now, I chose to go through the parking garage and stealth my way through. Once I got up the elevator, no one knew I was there, as evidenced by the runaway receptionist, and then I was able to attack from the shadows. Now, after a while, there were too many guards. I made a mistake, and they saw me, and then everybody knew I was there, and it was guns blazing the rest of the way. I reached the racket boss. You can tell I've been playing a lot of Ratchet and Clank. I reached the racket boss, and he had a rocket launcher, which I was able to take from him after dealing with him. I threw him out the window, which was a stunning way to shut him up. And then I used the rocket launcher on some of his cronies, which felt like perfect justice. And then I got out of there. It was a very satisfying mission, and it culminated with me needing to go through that lobby. And I love the fact that even though I skipped the lobby on the way in, going for the stealth approach, I was able to still hit up the lobby on the way out and had that set-piece fight with the rest of his army, the rest of his militia waiting for me. His mob members, his Mafia crew was there, and I had to fight through a bunch of them, which was pretty tricky. Some of the projectiles that I was throwing were Molotovs, frag grenades. There was this kind of voodoo doll that makes this screaming noise to attract attention, and again, as you can expect and imagine, a lot of these were acquired through giving rackets and districts and hideouts to the underbosses. The mobile store was something that was really cool. There's so much to talk about here. I'm going through all of it and trying to make sure I get you guys everything. Thank goodness for notes. I found two more things I want to tell you guys about. One being the detective vision that you've been seeing throughout the game. It's not called that here, but that basically is what it is, where the enemies will be highlighted. Sometimes they'll have a name above their head, like Squealer, which alerts you to which enemy is able to call in reinforcements. And that's a very typical feature, a very common inclusion in games these days. But what is atypical in the Mafia 3 version of this vision mode is how it's acquired. You have to go and whether it's take out the power or hack the power, basically you have to tap the phone lines, tap the power system in order to gain access to this vision. So there is an in-game, in-story, in-world reason for it. You're not just like a superhero or some madman with magical mind powers. There actually is a sort of pretty decent explanation for why you'd have this vision, and you need to get that to even be able to activate the vision in the area, which I thought was a nice addition. The second thing is I wanted to tell you just extra on the mission structure. One of the examples, there was a construction site that I had to go and attack, and I could go in stealthy or marked on my map. There was a sniper perch, and I could go and use that to sort of attack from above and take dudes out that way. So I could sneak in and go up the staircases, get to the sniper perch, create all-out warfare. But I like the fact that it wasn't just, oh, go guns blazing or stealth, but there was actually a separate location that would be ideal to ascend to if I wanted to do the sniper approach. And because you're only carrying two weapons at a time, I was usually rocking an assault rifle and a pistol. You can go one one-handed and one two-handed, so it's like a one-handed shotgun plus a two-handed sniper, or a one-handed pistol and a two-handed shotgun. You do have to sort of decide what kind of attack or what kind of character, what kind of gameplay you want for that mission, and you can call in that mobile truck and the mobile armory and switch that out at any time. But I like the fact that they did place some limitations, so you weren't just a jack of all trades. You may have to make decisions and sort of modify your approach and the way that you tackle a mission based on the arsenal that you have, and that was very evidenced by that construction site where there was a sniper perch that obviously would be useful if I had an assault rifle, but nowhere near as advantageous is if I had the sniper. So I chose the stealth approach with a shotgun and a silenced pistol. Someone else may not have even gone that route and instead drawn out the enemies via that sniper approach. The mobile store was cool. That could be called, and you can then use it to re-ammo up, to change out guns, and to get more explosives, more projectiles. Now, even that mobile armory can be upgraded to allow for more stuff that you can pick up. There are health packs in the game. I think that's important to point out. You will use those. Obviously, your health regens, but you do have health packs that you can use, as well as like a tactical vest. That was a fun thing to buy. Now, this stuff all has to be purchased from that mobile truck. That doesn't come and just give out free lollipops. You definitely have to pay for them, and that money will be acquired through accomplishing the missions as well as setting up these hideouts. They'll earn money. You can go and collect that, and the better and bigger they are, the more that they will earn and continue to grow and sort of build up this revolving income for yourself that can be used on some of the perks. Some of them are free and some of them have a cost, and then on buying more ammunition and more explosives and the likes. Now, obviously, I didn't see everything the game has to offer. I played one racket in one district. So the district had 2 major rackets. I got to play one of those, and I believe there was somewhere around 11 or 12 districts. So you're seeing that there is a lot of gameplay there, and some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Some of them will have you head into the swamplands, which I think would be super cool. I wish I got to see that. I definitely want to see how they have decided to model and realize that part of the New Orleans world. But it seems like, if you do the math, there's a bunch of hours of gameplay, and hopefully it's backed up with good storytelling. And I saw that here, and I think the most interesting differentiating factor was that underboss system. I want to go back to that because there was a scene after I completed the racket, and completing that racket allowed me to talk to my 3 underbosses. The 4 of us were sitting at a table, and we talked it out. I got to hear their feelings on the current standings of our group and of the operations, and one of the guys wasn't very happy. In fact, he was pissed off because I had not been giving him enough of the goods, enough of the earnings, enough of the hideout, enough of the different districts. And so he was pissed off and basically ready to end it with me. And that was evidenced in some phone conversations I had with him, as well as this cutscene. And apparently Lincoln's responses are different as well, which is really cool to see that there's a lot of variety in these cutscenes. And it was just a cool scenario where I had to see what they were saying, decide not only based on what I wanted to unlock, what weapon or what perk, but who I wanted to piss off or who I wanted to satiate. And I ended up... I'll let that be a mystery and we'll save it for the full playthrough. But I ended up doing something that had pretty cool consequences. People were pissed off. I got cool stuff. And you want to make sure that you keep that in balance. Or not. If you feel like you don't care about one of the people, push your luck. And I'm curious to see how far they're willing to push that, and if they really are willing to go all the way to a total betrayal or a total disavowing or a total split and separation, and how that might affect the ending. Really excited to see. But I loved all of the variety, not only in gameplay, which is something that's becoming more and more common in open world titles, but also in storytelling. And I love the fact that you are going to get to have almost RPG-like effect on these characters and on who you choose to align with and how that goes. And I thought that was something that these aren't characters that just show up in the game, do their mission line, and then boom, they're done. But they are going to be with you, hopefully all the way, and you're going to have to balance them, interact with them, and build relationships with them that will be unique to your Lincoln. Now, there isn't anything crazy in terms of character customization, but Lincoln will have multiple looks. You see them in the trailer that sort of evidence and resemble his mental state and sort of what's going on in the game, which I think is cool. At least they are committed to giving some variety and timeline variety throughout this story. All in all, I thought it was super fun. It does have a lot of the same trappings of open world in terms of, like, the police will get pissed off if you run someone over, if you bump into a police car, and I found those actually pretty difficult to get out of. You have to either kill all the cops and hope that you can hide, or try to run away, and that was tricky. Now, that can be enhanced and made easier by some of those perks. So there's some that will assist you in your escape, which, again, I think is pretty cool how all of that system with those 3 underbosses really again, it has story implications, it has gameplay implications, and I thought that was really cool. I'm looking at my list of everything I wanted to make sure that I covered here, and I think I got just about all of it. I'm curious to know what you guys think of the gameplay, and if you have any questions about what I talked about or any ideas or thoughts. I played Mafia 2 and really liked it. This is definitely a step up. It looks next-gen, it feels next-gen, and I got to go back to my favorite part being the gunplay and the controls. For me, this game would not be something I'd want to play if it didn't feel good. I think the story was interesting. I'd probably want to see it from that standpoint, maybe watch it or something. But the fact that the gunplay is so good, I really like it. And I really hope that they follow through with all of the emphasis on those underbosses and your decisions. I guess if I had to give you a couple of concerns, mine would be how different are the districts and the rackets? Can they keep enough gameplay variety to keep me interested? And how much story impact do I really have? Am I really making a difference? Am I noticing some of those decisions? Are the conversations feeling in tune with how I'm playing Lincoln and how I'm playing the game? None of the collectibles were being shown in this demo, so apparently that's a big piece of the puzzle as well. Some side pieces, like the radio is really cool, and they've got some really good period music in there, and changing stations and all that. You know, you can call cars to you. There was like, you know, a truck, a fast car, a more normal car, and apparently those cars can be upgraded in different ways. I didn't really see much of that, but it seemed like, I'm not sure how, you know, specific it was, but it seemed like the cars could be upgraded. That's the sense I got, or at least your main car could be upgraded. And then I'm trying to just go through the other perks in my head so that you can know all about them. You could call them the Hit Squad, which is cool, basically calling in a group of friendly fighters to take out enemies in the area, good for big encounters and allowing you to sort of stay protected while they do a lot of the dirty work. You were able to, like I said, cut the phone lines, reduce sort of police awareness and involvement, call in the mobile store, bring you a car. I think those were the ones I saw, and there's more that are coming, as well as passive ones, like I said, that continue to upgrade and just build out Lincoln as a force to be reckoned with as he takes over and becomes sort of the... I'm guessing there's going to be some, you know, ultimate test where Lincoln has to decide, is he becoming the mob boss that he was trying to take down, or is he really standing up for his people? What's the shades of gray between right and wrong? And I think they've really tackled a great character and a great era and a great conflict by being willing to put a African-American main character on the cover, and by being willing to sort of tackle that racial conflict in a very desperate period, in a very hotbed city, and it looks great, it plays great, and I'm excited to see more. I think you guys will really like it, and that is my heartfelt, genuine opinion. Like I said, didn't have to say anything, didn't have to, you know, agree to any, you know, inclusions or exclusions, wasn't paid a penny to play the game or to make a video about it. I just think it was a lot of fun. It impressed me. I went in with kind of like middle ground expectations based on what I saw at Gamescom, and I left with very high expectations and a lot of excitement for October when this game releases. Let me know what you think of Mafia 3 in the comments down below. If you have any questions, I can make a second video and talk about more. I may look through my list and notes and see if there's more that I want to talk about, but I think I got just about all of it. Wanted to make a big, juicy video for you so you could get all of the details, all of the goodies. But if I missed anything, let me know what you're thinking. I'm curious to know what you think of the footage and of the finer details in the comments below. Give it a big thumbs up if you want to see more Mafia 3 action as we approach launch and when the game releases. Until that time, everybody, thanks so much. I love you. Without your support, experiences, and opportunities like this wouldn't be possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you guys so much. Until next time, drink some hot chocolate. Thanks again. We will see you all later.